This is Commission President Ryan Calkins convening the regular meeting of January 27th, 2026. The time is 10:30 a.m. We're meeting in person today at the SEA Conference Center and virtually on Microsoft Teams. All commissioners are present with me today with the exception of Commissioners Fellman and Mohammed, and they are currently gathered in the executive session room awaiting the opening of the public meeting. We'll now recess into executive session to discuss one item regarding litigation and potential litigation legal risk for RCW 423110-1I for approximately 60 minutes. We'll reconvene into public session at noon today. Thank you. This is Commission President Ryan Calkins reconvening the regular meeting of January 27th, 2026. The time is 12:15 p.m. We're meeting in person today at the SEA Conference Center and virtually on Microsoft Teams. Clerk Hart, please call the roll of all commissioners in attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President. Beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Here.
Thank you, Commissioner Cho.
Present.
Thank you, Commissioner Hasagawa.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum established here today.
Great. For everyone in the meeting room, please turn your cell phones to silent. For everyone participating on Microsoft Teams, please mute your speakers when not actively speaking or presenting. Please keep your cameras off unless you are a commissioner or a member of staff participating virtually and are actively addressing the commission. Members of the public addressing the commission during public comment may turn on their cameras when their name is called to speak and will turn them back off again at the conclusion of their remarks. For anyone at the dais, please turn off your computer speakers and silence your devices. Please also remember to address your request to speak through the chair and wait to speak until you have been recognized. You'll turn your microphones on and off as needed. All of the items noted here will ensure a smoother meeting. All votes today will be taken by the roll call method or by general consent, so it is clear for anyone participating virtually how votes are cast. Commissioners will say aye or nay when their name is called. We are meeting on the ancestral lands and waters of the Coast Salish people, with whom we share a commitment to steward these natural resources for future generations. This meeting is being digitally recorded and may be viewed or heard at any time on the port's website and may be rebroadcast by King County Television. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, okay. I don't know if there's much I can do about that, but I will speak up. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. The first item of business today is approval of the agenda. As a reminder, if a commissioner wishes to make a general comment for or against an item on the consent agenda, it is not necessary to pull the item from the consent agenda. Rather, a commissioner may offer general supporting or opposing comments later in this meeting once we get to that part of the agenda. However, it is appropriate at this time if a commissioner wants to ask questions of staff or wishes to have a dialogue on a consent agenda item to request the item be pulled for separate discussion. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda or any motions to rearrange the orders of the day?
Commissioner Calkins, I'd like to move to remove item 10A from today's agenda. We have ongoing questions, and I'd like for my other colleagues to be able to take this under consideration as well.
All right. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to remove agenda item 10A from the agenda to a date in the future. I think we can go straight to vote on that.
With no objection. Yes.
All right. And I will ask you to call the roll on that vote.
Okay, we can do that. Beginning with Commissioner Cho.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. 3 ayes, 0 nays for that change in the agenda.
All right. So that passes. And now we're going to go to the question is now on approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any objection to approval of the agenda as amended? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as amended. Next on our agenda is the Executive Director's Report. Executive Director Metrick, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's good to be back after being away on business travel at the American Association of Port Executives Conference at the first meeting. Thanks to Deputy Executive Director Karen Goon for acting on my behalf at your first commission meeting of the year. And congratulations to all the new officers for 2026. Commissioners, last week our nation remembered Martin Luther King Jr., the life and legacy of Dr. King, whose leadership in civil rights, civil disobedience, and nonviolent resistance forever changed our country for the better. Many Port of Seattle employees and commissioners participated in local community gatherings, such as the 43rd Annual Youth Event, Opportunity Fair, Rally, and March at Garfield High School. I wanted to note that Port staff from Human Resources, Economic Developments, Diversity and Contracting, and Workforce Development, and the Office of Equity, Diversity and Inclusion volunteered at the Opportunity Fair to encourage community members to explore careers in aviation and maritime industries. Thank you for your continuing to represent the Port with dedication and for strengthening our connections with the people and partners we serve. Commissioners, I was reflecting on the legacy of Dr. King this weekend after learning the sad news that federal immigration officials killed a protester, Alex Preddy, in Minneapolis on Saturday, the second time this occurred this month. I'm shocked and deeply troubled by the violence from federal immigration officials that was apparent. These events leave many of us with a profound sense of grief and sadness, and I'm deeply worried that we may see escalations that would bring harm to our communities. I want you to know that I'm taking action in two ways. First, we are working to coordinate listening sessions for employees who are continuing to experience the stress of uncertainty and fear in their communities. And I'm asking our leaders to remind their employees of the resources we have in place to support our employees. Second, I'm recommending that we update our port-wide guidance for employees to remind them how to handle situations if immigration and customs enforcement action occurs at our facilities. Relatedly, last week there were false reports in our communities, rumors that Immigration and Customs Enforcement was doing operations at our airport. We reacted quickly. Our airport team evaluated the information, clarified and debunked the rumor, and corrected information on social media that it was in fact Port of Seattle Police engaging in their routine operations here at the port. The Port of Seattle Police Department works around the clock to keep workers, travelers, and members of the community safe in a myriad of ways. What the Port of Seattle Police Department does not do, in compliance with state and port policy, is to participate in immigration enforcement. We know it can be difficult for members of the public to differentiate between our port police and federal law enforcement, so we're looking at strategies to improve this differentiation. This is important as false information creates fear and can motivate responses that are not warranted or appropriate and could create increased risk. We continue to work closely with our staff and the community to see what we can do to support them and our travelers. And also, Commissioners, we look forward to working with you on these issues as well. Commissioners, the situation in Minneapolis has other implications for the port as well, including a significantly increased risk of another federal government shutdown beginning this weekend. If a government shutdown occurs, FAA, TSA, Coast Guard, and other federal agencies that are critical to the port's work would once again lapse in funding, forcing essential federal workers to show up to their jobs without pay for the second time in 3 months. While we're concerned about the impact on our operations, we fully support the efforts of our congressional delegation to ensure increased accountability for federal law enforcement actions, particularly in this time of heightened national tension. We are monitoring the situation and will keep you updated as the national events progress. Turning to operations, I'm proud to share that we have completed our FAA Part 139 airport certification inspection and received strong positive feedback on the overall condition and management of the airfield. Thanks to the thoughtful and collaborative work across departments, the inspector was impressed with the overall cleanliness of the airfield. This includes improved signage, foreign object debris performance, and vegetation control. All enhancements that help to keep us safe on the airfield. They also noted the high degree of professionalism and expertise of our fire department. We will continue to address some of the remaining needs identified, which our teams already have plans to address in the coming months to follow up on. And I want to congratulate our aviation team for these great results. On the maritime side, this is the time of year when preparations for the cruise season are picking up. Cruise season 2026. It'll be here before we know it. And last week, we received 2 additional passenger gangways for Terminal 91 Smith Cove Cruise Terminal, one each at the east and west vessel berths. The mobility and vessel connection range provided by the new secondary gangways will enable them to operate more efficiently with the proposed mobile shore equipment for Pier 91 and better accommodates the expanding range of cruise ship passenger door locations on ships that we have coming in. The new gangways were primarily manufactured in Spain and unfortunately in 2025 were subject to a 15% tariff, which cost the port an additional $385,000. We were able to cover this unexpected additional cost through the project's budget contingency. We're moving ahead with the assembly and installation and will be ready for the first cruise call at Terminal 91 on April 19th. Moving to today's commission meeting, I'd like to highlight a few items. On today's consent agenda, we have a proposed lease to the International Office Space, or the Sea-Tac Office Center, formerly known as the, we call it STOCK now, to call it short, the International Center, which relocates an existing tenant into a larger space. This lease highlights the positive momentum at the STOCK, where occupancy has steadily increased at above market rates since the port acquired the property, and the recent lease transactions have consistently aligned with the port aviation's property's priorities. The current occupancy is approximately 90%, with demonstrating strong demand for the space. In addition, we'll continue to develop a comprehensive business plan for the stock going forward. And commissioners, that today concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Commissioner Hasegawa.
Executive Director Metric, I'd like to thank you for your remarks, and I'd like to thank you for your partnership. The Commission looks forward to collaborating with you, POSPD, our labor relations folks, and legal to come to a solution to make sure that we're clarifying anywhere confusing aspects for members of the public, commissioners, and officers alike when it comes to federal immigration enforcement operations at the airport. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to make a quick comment on that topic as well. The Port of Seattle is fundamentally in the business of moving people and goods regionally, nationally, and internationally. And the actions over the last year, as you highlighted in your remarks, have made that more difficult for us, both from the standpoint of moving goods that, we directly are impacted by increased tariff rates, but also, and in some ways more fundamentally, we're impacted by the fact that as an organization that is externally focused, that is trying to make it easier for people to come and go from our region, these federal government actions are impeding our mission, our proprietary interests as an organization. And we need to be prepared in the event that the same types of actions that we've seen in other major cities around the United States come to our region. It's particularly poignant because we plan to host the world's largest sporting event here this summer, and we need to be prepared not only as a welcoming port, but in the long-term interests of our economy. This is a proprietary interest for us. So we, from a fundamental value standpoint, from a proprietary interest standpoint, I think it's important to know the Port of Seattle will do everything we can to ensure that visitors from anywhere else are welcome here. All right. Thank you again, Executive Director Metric. At this time, we're going to move to committee reports. Erica Chung, Commission Strategic Advisor, will provide the report.
Good afternoon, President Calkins, Commissioners, and Executive Director Metric. I have 2 short committee reports for you from last week. On January 20th, Commissioners Calkins and Fellman convened the Sustainability, Environment, and Climate Committee. There were 3 items for discussion and briefing: a review of the 2025 committee work, a discussion of the 2026 work plan, and an update of the Clean Ports Planning Grant. Also on January 20th, with Commissioner Fellman and Commissioner Cho, convened the Waterfront Industrial Alliance Committee with 1 item on the agenda for discussion, a potential port overlay district in the Soto area. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Are there any follow-up questions regarding the reports? Okay, we'll now continue on our agenda to the public comment portion of our meeting. The Port Commission welcomes public comment as an important part of the public process. Comments are received and considered by the Commission in its deliberations. Before we take public comment, Clerk Hart, can you please display the QR code to our public comment rules of procedure? For members of the public providing public testimony, it is essential that these rules are followed.
Thank you. And Mr. Commission President, I would just like to note that we also have written copies of our rules of procedure at the top of the room for anybody who may be interested in those. And moving forward, we will have this QR code available for all of our meetings.
Thank you so much, Clerk Hart. All right, and with that, will you please call our first speaker?
Thank you. We have two speakers signed up virtually, so I'll just alternate and then we can go into the room, beginning with Christina Arokiasamy. Oh, and let me get the timer up here before you begin, Christina. Give me just one moment. There we go. Christina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business that you'll be speaking about today, and then I'll start the timer.
Sure, thank you. My name is Christina Arokiasamy, and my topic is supporting immigrant-owned businesses through tourism.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Christina Arokiasamy, and I'm a founder and executive director of Culture Generation, a 501c3 nonprofit based in Kent. Culture Generation is the recipient of the Port of Seattle Tourism Marketing Grant, and I'm here today to share how this grant has supported us and created public value that was very important. Immigrant-owned restaurants and markets in King County hold deep cultural heritage, yet they have been historically left out of mainstream tourism marketing. And this grant allowed us to address that gap by creating visibility, bringing people, the public, into these spaces and helping them understand the cultures behind the foods, encouraging respectful engagement. Immigrant-owned restaurants and markets in King County also hold deep cultural heritage. They have been historically left out in mainstream tourism marketing. So with this grant, what we were able to do is create marketing tools for inclusion and belonging. We were creating brochures and online geomap to help people to get to these restaurants, and social media marketing, so that the world can discover immigrant-owned restaurants in King County and support them. And it's very important as we have FIFA coming up as well. Our work here with this grant is both cultural and economic for the state. It brings visibility, it creates healthy communities, and it supports culture through tourism for all. So thank you very much for this opportunity for me to share here today.
Thank you, Christina. Next speaker.
Yes, our next speaker from the room is Bruce Daniel. And Bruce, please repeat your name for the record and your topic, and then I'll start the timer. This one here. You'll see the green. Just speak into the mic. It's ready for you.
Praise the
Go ahead.
Praise the Kaken Commissioner. Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Daniel. I'm a cabin agent here at Sea-Tac and a proud member of ACI 6. Back in December 31st, 2025, I was admitted to hospital after passing out after work without insurance. That could be the last time I have admitted to a hospital. This incident has left me a 2,000 something bill cannot afford to pay. But that debt is compounded. I avoid seeking medical attention now. I live in stress from the debt and what future element or accident will mean for me and my family. I don't go to the doctor. I seek alternative treatment and home remedy. I ask my family back home in Congo to send me traditional herb plant that take to treat my illness and the pain so I can continue to work. With airline and employers are flying high on profit. We are going without. Airport workers need healthcare benefits. We need them now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Next speaker.
Thank you. Virtually calling for Andrea Doring. And Andrea, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item that you're speaking on today. Was she at check-in? Andrea, are you able to hear me? Okay, we'll come back to Andrea. Moving back to the room, Kalkadin Malatu, please. Please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic, and then I'll start the timer.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Kalkidan Mulatu. I have worked at Sea-Tac Airport for 12 years and a member of the SAUIE 6 Executive Board. You have heard from SAIU 6 members and other unions and non-represent workers about the need for healthcare benefits for years now. Kidney disease, diabetes, severe tooth decay, parasite, and chronic health issue relates SEI workers struggling throughout employers' healthcare benefits, issue that makes us miss or be late for work, health issue that make us exhausted, make us be late for work, health issue that make us exhausted and stressed before work, during work, and after work. Access to reliable and affordable health care is more crucial today than ever. On the top of raising inflation, workers' ACA subsidies have been cut, forcing many to drop the cover age. We see Medicaid disenrollments and benefits cut to food stamps and healthcare. We are told our jobs are important to the success of the airport, but our jobs do not currently provide the essential to keep us working. I urge you to meditate. Employers provide the wage or healthcare benefits we desperately need and do it as fast as possible. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Malak. Next speaker.
Thank you. Going back to Andrea Doring. Andrea, if you're calling on the phone, it's *6 to unmute.
Hi.
Is that you, Andrea?
Yes. Are you able to hear me now?
We can. Please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic, and then I'll go ahead and start the timer.
Okay. Andrea Doring, and I'm speaking on behalf of Agenda Item 10B.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Andrea Doring, and I am the Senior Marketing Manager for the Ballard Alliance, a nonprofit business improvement organization with a strong destination marketing focus. On behalf of the Alliance, I'd like to voice support of Agenda Item 10B, Authorization for the Port's Tourism Marketing Support Program. This is an incredible program that has a broad and diverse reach. It provides meaningful support for smaller and mid-sized destination marketing organizations, and it effectively leverages additional local investment with its matching fund component. The Ballard Alliance has been the recipient of TMSP grants over the last several years, and each one has had an immense impact on our organization. In 2017, the Alliance received funding support to develop the Visit Ballard website, our consumer-facing brand that drives visitors to shop, dine, and play in Ballard. In 2021, our project focused on a familiarization visit with Martinique Lewis, an award-winning diversity in travel consultant and also the president of the Black Travel Alliance. Most recently, the Alliance received a grant to implement a digital advertising campaign using the Datify platform that targeted Port of Seattle cruise ship visitors. This project resulted in an estimated economic impact of $629,000 based on more than 6,000 trips from Port of Seattle cruise terminals. The campaign achieved a return on advertising spend of nearly $63 for every dollar spent. The Alliance is so grateful for the support this program has provided our organization and is proud to be a close partner with the Port of Seattle. We look forward to continuing our relationship in the years ahead. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Andrea. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Matt Haney. Matt, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic, and then I'll start the timer.
Good afternoon. Matt Haney, SEIU 6 Property Services Northwest. President Calkins, commissioners. The Port's healthcare benefit analysis that was completed this last summer found that 55% of contracted workers at the airport do not have health insurance benefits, and only 41% of this workforce are even offered benefits by their employer. It's worth noting, of the 45% of the contracted workers with health insurance, a quarter of them are on Medicaid. This is reflective of studies conducted at major international airports and echoes the stories of healthcare inequities we hear from SEA workers here on the ground. This is not new information to this body. We have been talking about it for years now. The difference between Sea-Tac and other airports who have conducted studies is that they have acted to address the inequities by requiring wages to cover health plans or insurance benefits, while Sea-Tac remains the only major international airport on the West Coast not to require healthcare benefits for the lowest paid workers. We know the benefits: healthier, happier, more productive workforce, greater retention and recruitment, and a more secure airport. The Port and this commission have the authority and the support to act to make a targeted Port-administered healthcare requirement. But I urge you need to act swiftly and in a way that includes all infected employers at the same time so as not to create an unfair playing field. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haney. Next speaker.
Yes, our next speaker is Michelle Gianmarco.
Hi, my name is Michelle Gianmarco, and I'm here again with an update on the closure and evictions at Salmon Bay Marina, where I live on my legally established houseboat. The marina continues to shutter. Rosie reports of 80% of Salmon Bay customers finding new moorage ignore the fact that the 20% still there are either already abandoned or unlikely to find slips in time. 5 houseboats remain. We've received notice that our utilities will be shut off and will be locked out in 51 days. But we've also been told that you're not a ruthless landlord. I have a retired shipwright neighbor of 12 years who's like an uncle to me. He's 80-something on an extremely fixed income and his 3rd round of cancer treatments. If evicting him without prospects and shutting off his utilities in the middle of winter isn't being a ruthless landlord, I wonder what is. There's no contingency plan if we don't find slips by March 18th. Port Moorage coordinator has been tasked to help place us, yet we've had little contact, no information about their findings, and we all know the truth. There are no slips. What crumbs we've found have been our own. Our stakes are existentially high, and we've been asked to bet everything on the Port's invisible process. The last 4 months of your search, including 2 dedicated to the houseboats, have been fruitless. Yet in the next 51 days, you expect to find 4 or 5 slips. Does this seem rational to anyone? You've threatened moorage outside Seattle if needed. This would permanently erode our population of registered floating on water residents. Further, my neighbor has no running car and treatments in Seattle 3 times a week. I bike to an in-person job with swing shifts. You can move our boats out of town, but the people can't go with them. Today, we have to be realistic, prepare to rent apartments and abandon our homes. The March 18th deadline is just 3 commission meetings away. Why March 18th? Why no contingency plan? The simplest, most logical option of granting temporary liveaboard status at the Fisherman's Terminal remains off the table. The only plan we've really seen in action is closing the marina. It's the most work that's been done there since 2020. 51 days. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Jamarka. Clerk Hart, next speaker.
Yes, our next speaker is Maury Schuler. Maury, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic.
My name is Maury Morris Schuler. I'm the president of the Lake Union Liveaboard Association representing the little houseboats, and I'm here to talk about Salmon Bay Marina. Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. I don't have any prepared remarks. I did want to congratulate you, Commissioner Calkins, for being elected president. Congratulations. Thanks. What I do know is that all 5 of you, even the 2 who are not here, are very moral, ethical people. I'm convinced of that. But what I haven't seen with regard to Salmon Bay Marina are those ethics and morals actually applied. And I'd like to see it kick in right now, because those houseboats that Michelle talked about are in my little organization. It's a tiny constituent of people in Seattle, 266 to be exact. That's all we've got. They are historically and culturally significant, as named in the state law, which protected us some decade ago almost now at this point, legally established. You knew they were there when you bought the marina. We negotiated a special deal so we could keep them there because there were no slips available at the time. So I have more questions about what's happening at Salmon Bay than I have answers, and I wonder if you do too. Do you know why this is happening? Do you know why the deadlines were imposed? Do you know why utilities are being cut off? Do you know why these people are being evicted? Do you know how our public money is being spent, has been spent on Salmon Bay? Do you know how much overhead has been charged to the port instead of actually putting it into Salmon Bay? Do you know any of this? Do you have any questions at all? And if you do know, please be transparent about it. Please tell the public what's happening with our public funds regarding Salmon Bay. It wasn't a cheap purchase. You spent a lot of money buying it. I know the 3 of you weren't here at the time, but you're here now. And I would like you to provide some answers to the public on why this is happening and how much it's costing your taxpayers. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Ms. Schuler. Clerk Hart, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Carol Warman. And Carol, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic today, and then I'll start the timer.
Hello, I'm Carol Warman. I've been at the port for 15 years pushing wheelchairs, and I enjoy it here, but healthcare, again, is our problem. I'm on Medicare and Medicaid, and if I were to have any drastic healthcare, that would take all of my savings. So the program that they have here for healthcare is just what they call preventative, which is just basically paying for doctors' offices and just the minor stuff. There's no major stuff. That's why I'm doing Medicare and Medicaid. So we definitely need a major healthcare program here because I think there are a lot of people at the point that I'm at. We're not sure whether or not we'd be able to survive a life-changing health emergency. So we need help from the commission to help us get through this and actually give us a good health care program. And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warman.
You're welcome.
Clerk Hart, next speaker.
Our next speaker is John Cheney. And John, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record.
My name is John Cheney. I am a liveaboard resident at Salmon Bay Marina, and I'm here to talk about our eviction. I've never missed a payment to the port as a tenant at the marina. My houseboat has been in that marina for 20 years. I think I've kept my part of the bargain. I don't think the port has kept its part of the bargain, and it makes me sad. Since I place great hope in our government institutions, even in these times. You knew the marina needed work when you bought it. Even though you weren't on the commission, there is a larger commission life. Reports, however, have shown you, since you have been on the commission, that you could keep the marina safe, yet you delayed maintenance until declaring it a safety emergency on September 11th. We weren't hit by an airplane, but we were hit by the port. The port knew of the unsafe condition and still increased our rent. The port knew of the unsafe condition, and more shockingly, that you never told us about that safety issue. You knew, and yet you didn't tell us. We're still working on public records requests. I'm still wondering what you're hiding. We have been offered inadequate relocation assistance and require that we hold the port harmless, totally, on your deception. We could receive some relocation, but it feels like we're acting under duress. We've got our reminder that you're going to turn off the water, the electricity, and the access, even if we do not have a new home slip. Lastly, you will not even offer flowers floating on water residences, safe harbor, in your other port facilities. That's shameful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Clerk Hart, please call our final speaker.
Yes, our final sign up here today is J.C. Harris. JC, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic.
My name is J.C. Harris. I represent Sea-Tac Noise.info. Today I am speaking on behalf of 1,300 homeowners with port packages. First of all, congratulations, President. Second of all, I had my first discussion with Director Metric in 2017 regarding these issues, and I am struck today by the sheer weight of all this stuff you guys have to keep track of. I was in Olympia yesterday talking about an aviation tax bill to help fund port package retrofits, and of course there isn't one bill, there are three for electeds to look at amongst 500. And my point is, just being here today, it's totally overwhelming. I am struck by the fact that having been at this for a while, there have been solutions that are low friction for everybody, and yet every stakeholder picks the most nutty approach. And that's why it goes on forever. I don't think that there is any bad intent or whatever the other people chronically think. It's simply that you're dealing with 327,000 things, and they're all hyper-technical. I would like to suggest that we have a meeting with, don't want to have a quorum violation, the director, whoever sets policy on this, and there is legislation available that will not disappoint the port and will help the homeowners. Because I can assure you that both sides in the current legislation, if the bill passes, nobody is going to enjoy it. Like nobody. Not the homeowners and definitely not the port. So please, if we can try to schedule something, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I just want to ask Clerk Hart if there are any additional signups since
We do have one more sign up.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Would you like me to call the name?
Please do.
Thank you. That's Teresa Vian Crossman. Teresa, Vian, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic.
My name is Teresa Vian Crossman. I am the founder and visionary of Velux Pods. It's nice to see you again, Commissioner President. Congratulations.
Thanks.
At Velux Pods, we believe true innovation doesn't come from steel and glass alone. It comes from caring for people's hearts and spirits. My mission is to create pods that are more than just a place to sleep. They are your escape between departures. They are a moment of peace and sanctuary of care, and a space where every traveler is invited to relax, rest, and refresh. Thank you for considering my vision, and thank you for the opportunity of this unique experience at Sea-Tac Airport. Together, we can show the world that comfort is not just about luxury, it's a birthright for every soul on the move. And right here, I want to present to him the pods. I'm going to do the tour. Sorry. And then after, this is the way I would want it set up.
Okay. Do you want to first or give it to me now? It's up to you.
Okay. You could just take them all.
Okay.
Actually.
Thank you.
And I'll keep this and then I'll.
Okay.
Thank you. Velux Pods refines modern travel for a modular wheelchair accessible and rest pod system designed for airports and transit hubs. Each pod offers travelers a private soundproof haven featuring secure keypad entries, wireless charging, ambient lighting, acoustic installation, and optional pet-friendly configurations.
And
thoughtfully designed.
Can you wrap up as quickly as possible?
Yes. Exclusive and it's for mental wellness as well. Velux Pod provide a sanctuary and calm security for all travelers, regardless mobility and mental health needs. And she has the.
We'll make sure those documents are included in the record of the
Okay.
meeting as well. Thank you
Okay.
so much for your contribution.
Okay.
One more thing.
Okay. And after the pods is set up, I would like to even have this as a treat for our guests, for our travelers.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your public comment today. That concludes our signups. Is there anyone else either in the room or present on the Teams call who didn't sign up but who wishes to address the commission? Okay, with that, at this time I'm going to ask the clerk to please give a synopsis of any written comments that we received.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President, members of the Commission, Executive Director Metric. We've received one written comment for our meeting today. This comes from Julie Salathi, Director of Grants and Sponsorships at the Wing Luke Museum of the Asian Pacific American Experience, who writes in support of Agenda Item 10B, the Tourism Marketing Support Grant Program. Julie thanks the port for the program, noting that the grant has provided critical tourism-related marketing support, which is not typically available through other programs. For them, support included website development, digital marketing, and marketing campaign development for out-of-state tourist visitation in line with the port's objectives for increasing out-of-state visitors related to cultural tourism. Julie notes that as a culturally specific, smaller nonprofit, they find it difficult to find the marketing resources to compete with larger museums and for nonprofit tourist destinations, and urges the port to continue funding this important program.
Point of information, can you repeat the last name, please?
Salathi, I believe is how it's pronounced. Do you know of a different pronunciation?
I can't see how it's spelled. That's okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I do apologize if I've
Oh, no, I just
mispronounced
didn't catch it. I was just wondering. Thank you.
Salathe.
Okay.
And that concludes the written comments we've received today, and this will become a part of the public record. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Clerk Hart. Hearing no further testimony, we're going to move on in the agenda. Our next order of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be adopted by one motion. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered separately immediately after adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda covering items 8A through 8E?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made and seconded. Commissioners, please say aye or nay when your name is called for approval of the consent agenda.
Beginning with Commissioner Cho.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. 3 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
All right. And with that, the motion passes. Clerk Hart, can you please read the next item into the record, and then we'll have Executive Director Metric introduce it.
Yes, thank you. We are moving to new business agenda item 10B. This is authorization for the Executive Director to execute all related contract agreements for the 2026-27 Selected Tourism Marketing Support Program recipients in an amount not to exceed $600,000.
Commissioners, before you today is an authorization related to the Tourism Marketing Support Program, which partners with destination organizations to attract out-of-state visitors while promoting use of port facilities, including Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, our cruise terminals, and recreational marinas. The program is structured as a 2-to-1 matching fund that will make a total of $600,000 available over the 2026 to 2027 period for projects that meet defined criteria and advance shared marketing objectives. Port funding is intentionally focused on supporting the development of responsible tourism initiatives on elevating diversity, equity, and inclusion within destination marketing efforts, with the Responsible Travel Handbook serving as a guiding framework for applicants. This program has demonstrated a meaningful impact, particularly for smaller destinations, while expanding their reach to diverse audiences while reinforcing stewardship values and responsible travel practices. Today, approval today enables the port to continue leveraging tourism marketing as a strategic tool to grow visitation, support local communities, and align destination promotion with the port's values and long-term goals. Presenter this afternoon is Nick Leonti, Tourism Development from Office of Economic Development Division. So, Nick.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Commission President Calkins, Commissioner Cho, Commissioner Asagawa. Always a pleasure to be here to talk about the good work that we're doing in tourism development. And that work that we do, tourism development and tourism marketing, it truly is destination stewardship in action. When we develop community-focused strategies and market responsibly, we influence where visitors go, how they travel, and help drive revenue to small businesses while also creating jobs and strengthening city and county tax bases. Our efforts are not about simply increasing volume, but about focusing, managing, and shaping visitor behavior to benefit residents and sustain the Seattle experience that we all value. Next slide, please. And the Tourism Marketing Support Program, or TMSP, is a key part of our scope that enables tourism partners across the state to help advance the port's larger tourism mission. Not only do these grants help small and mid-sized tourism partners reach new audiences, but the program fills critical gaps in regional marketing capacity and promotes lesser-known destinations to help spread visitor dollars when and where they are needed most. In 2024, the Commission authorized the previous cycle for up to $600,000 for the 2-year grant cycle, in which we were able to support nearly 40 projects throughout the region. We are asking the Commission today to reauthorize the program for another $600,000 for 26 and 27, funds that have already been budgeted. Next slide, please. Annually, tourism brings billions of dollars into Washington's economy and supports tens of thousands of jobs statewide. These numbers demonstrate that tourism is a powerhouse for economic infrastructure. This data underscores what we see every day, that tourism generates real, measurable benefits for residents, and the port plays a vital role in delivering those benefits to our local communities. Our global connectivity also enhances the lives of residents by enabling them to visit their families, conduct business, and experience cultural connections around the world. Just speaking for myself, as someone who didn't even leave the Pacific time zone until I was 30, I have a great appreciation for the positive social and cultural impact that travel provides. Next slide, please. Visitor spending, which is bringing dollars from outside our community into our community, is vital to the livelihoods of our locals and key to keeping the places we love around. As we like to say, tourism marketing is for the locals, not the tourist. But tourism is facing headwinds both locally and globally. Anti-U.S. sentiment is swelling in our largest overseas markets. Outdated or inaccurate perceptions of Seattle persist, and misinformation and rising global competition are real threats. Tourism marketing is how we counter those narratives. Through trade relationships, media coverage, in-country engagement, we tell Seattle's true story, a story of innovation, natural beauty, cultural vibrancy, and responsible travel leadership. Our work and the works we support through the TMSP help deliver on tourism potential for our local residents. Next slide, please. When we look at the big picture of our work and its impact, it's obvious that a strong partnership with State of Washington Tourism and Visit Seattle and other tourism industry partners across the region multiplies our global reach. When we move in alignment, global buyers and media receive consistent messaging, and that consistency results in stronger visitor spending and more effective stewardship outcomes. The TMSP helps smaller destinations, organizations, and other tourism-related businesses follow the lead of the port and bolster our collective efforts. In line with Executive Director priorities, tourism drives shared success and increases economic resiliency for our residents. Visitor spending supports restaurants, small businesses, parks, transportation systems, museums, community-based cultural organizations, and more. It helps fund city services and creates jobs at every level. Importantly, when tourism is done responsibly, the benefits extend to underserved communities that historically have not received equal access to economic opportunity. In all our work, whether it's working with travel media, helping travel producers develop product, hosting familiarization tours or press trips, producing educational tours, or developing content to keep Seattle top of mind, in all of that work, everything we do, we work to advance Commissioner's priorities around equity, inclusion, creating opportunity, resiliency, and boosting responsible tourism. Next slide, please. Well, I'm not here today to provide a year in review of our work, but I did want to provide a few highlights that show how impactful our work is and how TMSP fits into that work. And tourism is a relationship-driven industry, and our in-person meetings with travel producers, travel media, and other industry thought leaders build trust in ways that an email or a Zoom call simply cannot. The relationships our team has built with travel producers and thought leaders across the globe help us develop impactful strategies, secure new partnerships, negotiate new itineraries, and deliver positive outcomes for our community. They also keep Seattle relevant in competitive global markets. And my awesome team of tourism development manager, Chantal Lucebrink, and our new tourism development specialist, Bethany Santos, work every day in this industry to deliver results for locals. For example, Chantal ensured that a FAM tour of top-selling travel agents from Germany who sell packages through Holland American Lines experienced the CID and toured the Central District, including an amazing dinner at Communion R&B. That doesn't happen without our influence. Or look at last year's sales mission to Tokyo and Seoul that resulted in hosting a familiarization group of Korean product developers who have now launched outdoor recreation tours with Korean-speaking guides in our region. And when Edelweiss Airlines announced their new route, we were able to host media on an itinerary that featured lesser visited locations and included a tour with elders of the Jamestown Slalom tribe that showcased the rich stories behind totem pole carving. The resulting stories created by that group delivered over $2 million worth in estimated media value. These successes don't happen without our tourism development efforts, and those efforts help us deliver value to our partners. Next slide, please. And speaking of delivering value, we are always looking for new ways to provide leadership and opportunity to our local partners. In fact, we are in the process of securing a new visitor information chatbot at SEA that will modernize how we communicate with travelers. The chatbot will be able to deliver port priorities around responsible travel directly to visitors, nudging them to local businesses, culturally significant places, and sustainable travel options, while also focusing on lesser visited communities in real time. Our responsible travel principles will also be reflected in the port's new responsible tourism ad campaign at SEA that transforms the previous Spotlight ad program into a stewardship engine. Instead of random partner ads, we will now deliver cohesive messaging rooted in sustainability, cultural respect, and shared community benefit, reaching millions of travelers annually. Using high visibility ad placements across SEA, we will guide visitors from the moment they arrive, encouraging them to explore thoughtfully, support local businesses, discover lesser visited neighborhoods, and adopt those responsible travel behaviors. And the TMSP grants complement and enhance all of this work. It is one of our highest impact tools. The program supports local organizations, many of them small, emerging, or community-based, that would not otherwise be able to participate in tourism promotion. Port funds help these partners create bookable visitor experiences, elevate underrepresented communities, and grow local jobs. The program directly advances equitable tourism by ensuring that economic opportunity reaches beyond the city core and advancing Commissioner Hasegawa's goal of rewriting the map for equitable tourism. Next slide, please. I've mentioned our responsible travel principles a few times, and while these principles have guided our work for years, over the past year we worked to clarify that messaging by creating an official list, which you see on the slide here. These principles are grounded in responsible, equitable tourism and help us promote travel behaviors that support environmental protection, cultural respect, and community well-being. That includes guiding visitors to lesser visited neighborhoods, amplifying diverse cultural assets, and reducing pressure on high traffic sites while advancing the port's stewardship approach that ensures tourism growth never comes at the expense of residents. But the principles outlined here go beyond those new ads or the chatbot. These principles guide all our work, and they are built into the TMSP program. All applications for TMSP funding are evaluated for their impact as they relate to these principles. For example, promotion for a festival in the middle of summer high season would not be evaluated as highly as one that is scheduled during the shoulder or slow seasons. Next slide, please. And that evaluation criteria, our evaluation criteria are intentionally aligned with the port's values and prioritize inclusive and culturally representative travel experiences in addition to environmentally responsible tourism. This ensures port dollars uplift communities, protect the environment, and guide visitors to experience that reflect our region's diversity and authenticity. Next slide, please. Past TMSP recipients include trail associations, art organizations, cultural districts, rural tourism collaboratives, and emerging community tourism leaders. These grants create real-world impact, new visitor itineraries, stronger small businesses, expanded marketing capabilities, and increased visitor spending in places that don't typically see direct tourism dollars. TMSP is one of our most powerful tools for distributing tourism benefits equitably. These port funds support projects ranging from digital advertising focused on diverse markets to hosting travel writers and influence to creating content. These grants highlight the best of our communities and help amplify voices that have historically not been heard. You have the full list of projects supported in the last cycle in your memo packet. We hope you see the immense value this program brings to our community, and we ask for your support in reauthorizing the program for the next cycle. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions from commissioners?
Well, Nick, I just want to say how much I appreciate your collaboration over the last year to be able to expand access to opportunities for folks of all kinds of different geographies, including within the city of Seattle who are inside historically redlined areas that have never made it onto the tourism map. For folks who don't know, that tourism map is a Port of Seattle document that is actually handed out to people who are arriving to ride our cruises that can direct them towards nearby attractions. And we want to make sure that it represents some of the amazing attractions that we have south of Pioneer Square and south of the redlining border. So does that map include the Museum of Flight? Can you help me with my photographic memory?
Yes, it does.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm picturing it right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Same. I think that it'll be helpful to be able to, I think, share that more broadly because it kind of demonstrates how we're trying to expand thinking about that. The thought process here is that we want to get folks as ready as possible to absorb this unprecedented tourism volume ahead of FIFA World Cup and letting that be almost like a launching pad for them to absorb subsequent tourism activity from folks who came the first time via FIFA who want to come back, or from the ongoing tourism via the cruise passengers. So this is a really, really exciting and special, unique opportunity. I've been asking everyone, I implore everyone to ask themselves, what's my FIFA hustle? Because there is $929 million of economic opportunity, and we want to make sure that it goes as broadly geographically, as deep into communities, and as far across time as possible, leading up to FIFA and after FIFA. And so for this readiness and how far it's come over the last year, I'm very pleased. I just like I know I've been sort of a thorn in your side, and I thank you. I'd like to just speak into existence and thank Africa Town, Wyking Garrett, former state representative Don Mason, Leonard Housey, and all the others who have brought us in from the Port of Seattle, our economic development team, our equity, diversity, and inclusion team that has met with them 5 times to make sure that we are understanding what the opportunity is to get folks away from the Space Needle and not just north or to Pioneer Square, but through the Chinatown International District, through Little Saigon, and up into the Central District. And I'd also like to thank the Ethiopian community of Seattle for welcoming us in South Seattle to see how we get folks down the light rail and into some of those amazing Black and Brown owned businesses, the restaurants, letting us go ahead and see for ourselves what that incredible attraction is. I want to also call out that FIFA is going to overlap 2 important holidays for us, and one of them is Pride Month, and the other one is Juneteenth. And there is going to be an interest of where are the Black businesses in Seattle? Where can we go this week, this month, as it does overlap with some FIFA matches? And I love the work that you are doing to create a navigator right here at the airport so that people can see that directory of Black-owned businesses throughout the area. I just think it's such an important and meaningful handoff for us to be able to do that. I love that this program has improved its evaluative framework. I love that you have a panel so that you have sharp minds who are thinking about how we can really meaningfully target these funds for the best intended impact. There's always going to be more work that we can do. But you've been a great thought partner. So I'd like to thank you. There's one thing that I also wanted to lift up in the context of approval of this request is that I've been hearing from folks, there is some siloed work going on, and I've asked that our economic development director do connect with a group that has already done a preparedness assessment for different neighborhoods around King County. They are independent. They work in collaboration with Visit Seattle as well. And then they have offered a framework to support the business readiness to be able to actually accommodate the demand and the tourists who will be coming to the area. So that's just going to be a meeting. Like, I just want folks to know that this approval isn't just one and done. We're going to continue to work to make sure that we are doing the most we can to equip everybody, our communities, our cities, our region, to be able to give an have an excellent tourism experience for the world community, global community coming in just a few months. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I also want to just channel Commissioner Fellman, who I know has done incredible work on this topic. I'll keep it short, but primarily to say, thinking about how an industry like this that is very important for our region, what can the port do to ensure that, as you highlighted in the presentation, it's reaching into the areas that have not historically benefited from tourism, or in some cases may have even been negatively impacted by it. So really appreciate all the work on this. At this point, hearing no further questions for this item, is there a motion and a second to approve item 10B?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, the motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate on this item? All right, Clerk Hart, can you please call the roll on the vote?
Thank you. Beginning with Commissioner Cho.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Calkins.
Aye. I think we got like 5 votes on that.
I think so.
3 of us.
But 3 ayes, 0 nays. Okay.
And with that, the motion passes. All right, we are now at presentations and staff reports. We are going to take a 5-minute recess to ensure that we can maintain quorum through the active portion of the meeting. So commissioners, please return. It is 1:20. Please be back by 1:25. All right. Clerk Hart, can I call the meeting back to order?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, we're going to move on to our first presentation and staff report for the day. Clerk Hart, can you please read the next item into the record, and then we'll have Executive Director Metrick introduce the item.
Thank you. This is agenda item 11A, rental car program at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport.
Commissioners, today's briefing provides a high-level update on Consolidated Rental Car Facility, a core airport asset that has been in operation since 2012 and remains a major driver of the non-aeronautical revenue at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The rental car program continues to be the airport's second largest non-aeronautical revenue source, generating more than $90 million annually and serving millions of passengers through a facility that supports 11 car rental brands. As we approach the midpoint of the original 30-year lease in 2027, staff will outline how the facility is performing, highlight upcoming capital needs, and discuss long-term considerations for sustaining this critical asset. This briefing also previews several commission actions expected over the next year, including capital investments in the space rebidding process that will shape the facility's configuration for the next 15 years. So presenting this afternoon are Jeffrey Wolf, Director, Aviation Commercial Management, Jeffrey Foster, Assistant Director, Aviation Business Development, and Nassim Tirhi, Aviation Real Estate and Portfolio Manager. So I think I'll begin by turning it over to Jeff Wolf.
Good afternoon, Commission President Calkins, Commissioners, Executive Director Metrick. As mentioned, I'm Jeff Wolf, Director of Aviation Commercial Management at SEA, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to discuss SEA's rental car operation. As the Executive Director mentioned, it's a key business line within commercial management and typically the second highest source of non-aeronautical revenue at the airport. Next slide, please. Today, my colleagues, Jeff Foster and Nassim Tirhi, will walk you through a briefing regarding the rental car business with a focus on 3 main areas. Number 1, an overview of the background and performance of the rental car business, looking back to 2012 with the opening of the current rental car facility. Number 2, a review of the current rebidding process of the agreement governing space allocation for the various rental car tenants. 2027 will be the 15-year mark, or halfway point, of the underlying 30-year lease agreement for the facility, requiring a space rebid as part of the lease agreement. And number 3, a review of the investment and capital projects that have occurred at the facility, as well as upcoming commission action items you can expect to see in the near future. Our goal in presenting this briefing to you today is to bring you up to speed with the rental car business and prepare you for the current rebid process and future action items. I want to thank my colleagues Jeff and Nasim for all their ongoing hard work managing SEA's relationships with the multiple rental car partners at the airport. I also want to recognize and thank our landside operations team, led by Peter Lindsay, who oversee the day-to-day operation of the rental car busing system, and the 59 Port of Seattle employee bus drivers who take care of rental car passengers 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, commissioners, for this opportunity and for all your support of the rental car business at SEA. I will now hand it over to Nasim Tiri, who will guide you through today's presentation. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Hello, and thank you again for your time today, Commissioners and Executive Director Metric. My name is Nasim Tirhi, and I'm a real estate and portfolio manager here at the Port of Seattle with the rental car facility falling within that portfolio. I'm going to briefly cover the history and background of the facility and its operators since its opening in 2012. As a reminder, the SEA rental car facility is located off the intersection of 160th Street and International Boulevard, just northeast of the main terminal. Next slide, please. The facility houses over 2.1 million square feet of customer and operational space within a 23-acre site. The site was awarded the LEED Silver certification after earning 34 LEED points during its construction. The project for the facility began in 2008 through a $400 million bond issuance, which covered the construction of the facility itself, as well as the transportation mechanism for passengers to reach it, being the rental car facility bus system. This debt service is paid for via an industry-standard customer facility charge, or CFC, which is assessed to the rental car customers by each operator and will be covered more later in the presentation. Currently, our busing program consists of 35 CNG or compressed natural gas buses, which are operated by port employees via our landside operations team. Next slide, please. As of today, there are currently 11 brands operating at the rental car facility, one of which being considered a small operator, which is defined as a brand that operates with less than 2% of the total market share. There are 4 major areas of the site to note, the first being the customer service building on the 5th floor, which houses operator kiosks and the bus loop in which customers are brought to and from the main terminal. Floors 1 through 4 are specifically operational floors for storage of vehicles, pickup and drop-off zones for customers and their rented vehicles, and quick turnaround areas, or QTAs, for vehicle preparation. The facility has 4 quick turnaround areas split between the northern and southern ends of the site and includes both car washes and fuel dispensers. Next slide, please. The project began in 2008. However, rental car operations began in May of 2012 under a 30-year lease agreement. Prior to this, a few brands ran rental car operations within the first floor of the main terminal garage at SEA, though this was a limited space. Other brands operated via an off-airport model and transported customers via courtesy shuttle, after checking customers in at booth locations in the baggage claim area of the terminal. Since we had a split operation at SEA, which required customers to find their rental car operators in different locations, we have found that the consolidated rental car facility model provides a seamless and overall better customer experience for our passengers. Next slide, please. Although the consolidated rental car facility holds a majority of our rental car operators, there are 3 specific classes that the port recognizes. On-airport operators are the most common, being housed in the facility mentioned. Again, we hold 11 brands under this class via 8 lease agreements. Additionally, the port recognizes off-airport operators who are required to shuttle their customers from the rental car facility to their respective locations surrounding the airport. We have had a few operators in this class in previous years, but currently have no active agreements and are in the process of completing one. Lastly, the fixed-base operator rental car class specifically allows for rental car transactions at the FBO, or fixed-base operator, for non-terminal customers. This is located on the southwest corner of the airfield and is the new class that was introduced in 2025. Next slide, please. Since 2012, over 60 million passengers have been transported to and from the rental car facility via an RCF busing program. This includes a yearly increase since 2020 to exceed pre-pandemic numbers of travelers, ending 2025 with 5.2 million passengers, being the highest single year recorded. Next slide. As you can see here, rental cars have generated significant revenues for the port and seen a steady increase to CFC funds as well, ending 2025 with $48.4 million. 2025 will see similar revenues year over year compared to 2024, though note that the figures here do not include the $4.5 million generated by the 8 lease agreements to the rental car facility. As you can see, revenue and concession fees have exceeded pre-COVID levels, including a 25% increase in gross sales over 2019 numbers. The far right figure does not include December of 2025, though we expect the 2025 numbers to be at or near 2024 numbers as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff Foster to continue the discussion on CFCs and future actions. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Nasim. Commissioners, during the annual budget process, we review the performance and forecast for the customer facility charges, or CFCs, to determine if a rate increase is needed to ensure adequate funding for not just the short term, but also over the medium and long terms. Currently, our CFCs are at $8 per transaction day, and this chart shows the progression of CFC rates from when they were instituted 20 years ago in 2006. The CFCs provide a dedicated funding source that covers not just the debt service on the RCF, but also our busing operation and any capital costs that are required. As the facility ages, more capital projects will be needed to replace systems and to keep the facility operating. It's important to note that capital projects at the facility are generally funded solely from CFCs. Since COVID, we have also been working to build up a minimum reserve, ensuring adequate debt service protection and funding for continued busing operations should another shock event like the pandemic take place. These demands on the CFCs have contributed to the need for a slow and methodical increase in the CFC rate and are done in coordination with our rental car partners. Next slide, please. The 30-year lease agreements with our rental car operators are now nearing the midpoint of their term. Originally, the lease agreement called for a major space rebidding process every 10 years, creating 3 separate concession periods. Each rebidding process, which is governed by the lease agreement, requires the port to re-demise the space within the customer service building and may also require our operators to move operational areas in the floors below, at potentially high cost to the port and to the rental car operators. Due to the COVID pandemic, the cost impact to the CFCs, cost to the tenants, and the overall disruption this would cause to the facility and our customers, the process was amended by Commission to create 2 15-year concession periods, resulting in a single rebid process versus the 2 originally planned. While our airport dining and retail program that you are familiar with uses a combined concession and lease agreement, or concession and lease in one agreement, the rental car facility is governed by a lease agreement with a 30-year term and a separate subordinate concession agreement covering the more limited concession periods. The purpose of this rebidding process, which focuses on a space posture in the facility, allows for significant corrections to space based off of changes to those that are in the SEA market, as well as the overall rental car industry. The next 15-year concession period under the continuing lease will require a new concession agreement covering the minimum annual guarantees and security deposit amounts. Next slide, please. This graphic shows the current layout for the customer service building. As mentioned on the last slide, the rebidding process is a major space posture endeavor, though the lease agreement does provide for some adjustments within the facility at specific intervals. These space reallocations are more limited than the comprehensive rebidding process that we are currently undertaking. On this graphic, you can see our small operator area, or SOA for short, on the far right of the screen. The SOA provides port-installed counters, offices, customer support booths on the floors below, and reduces the overall burden of entry into the facility. While we have 1 current small operator, we have had 3 in the facility since it opened. 1, Sixt Rent-A-Car, was a small operator that has since graduated to a regular operator through an unexpected vacancy earlier in the facility's operation. Next slide, please. In November, we issued a request for qualifications, or RFQ, which will be used to determine SEA market share as well as any potential new entrants. The next step, which we expect to take place later in February, will be to invite the qualified parties from that RFQ process to bid on space commensurate with their determined market share, ensuring the overall efficiency of the facility. The bidding will also establish a new minimum annual guarantee for each operator, which will then be reflected in the concession agreement. As long as we have space in the small operator area, we will also continue our efforts beyond this process to add new entrants to the facility through our small operator area. Next slide, please. While the port maintains ownership of the facility and the overall systems, most of the maintenance is handled by the rental car operators and not by the port. Some aspects, such as a full system replacement or a major maintenance item, do fall to the port and is handled through our capital project process. As mentioned previously, our projects at the facility are generally paid by the CFC fund cash balance. Some projects have also included passenger experience enhancements, including the addition of our next bus system, allowing customers to know when their next bus will be arriving to take them to or from the rental car facility. Additionally, the rental car operators continue to enhance the facility through their own tenant improvement projects within their exclusive use areas. Next slide, please. Since the facility opened in 2012, the port has continued to invest in the rental car facility through capital projects, ranging from concrete repairs to overall security enhancements from several different projects. We have also undertaken some replacement of systems that have either exceeded their useful life or has had regulatory changes, such as our fire suppression system replacement in the quick turnaround areas. Next slide, please. In the next few months, we will be coming back to commission for the redemising project authorization, which will modify this customer service building based on the results of our rebidding process. Additionally, later this spring or early summer, we anticipate to bring the concession agreement form to commissioners for approval. Either later this year or early next year, we may also be coming back for approval of additional capital projects, including an LED retrofit of the facility, which continues our efforts to be the most sustainable airport. Next slide, please. That concludes our briefing, and with that, we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for the presentation. This was a really fun one to read through when we got the briefing materials, so I imagine you'll get some questions from us. But commissioners, any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Cho.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Very, very insightful. One question I had was, who or what process is there for setting CFC rates?
So the CFC rates are done through our budget process where we propose based off of the expected expenditures in the short term, as well as looking at how that will project out for our long term with anticipated increase of capital projects. That is part of our overall budget process that we bring to commission. It is part of our the study session as well as the underlying budget.
Okay, so if my understanding of how this works is correct, CFCs is kind of like a PFC where you get the $8 per head. Is that correct?
Per transaction day.
Oh, per transaction. Okay. And then I noticed that in your table that broke down the revenue, it was revenues and CFCs. So can you help me understand where the non-CFC revenue comes from?
So non-CFC revenue is going to be based off of our concession, which is 10% of gross sales, in addition to a land rent that is based off of the unimproved value of the site.
Okay, so the two columns you showed are additive.
Correct.
Okay.
And then not showing in those columns were the $4.5 million in land rent.
Got it. And then lastly, if this reallocation or rebidding ultimately ends up shuffling our tenants based on their size requirements or constraints, who pays for the costs of relocation?
So under our agreement, the port is responsible for any redemising of the customer service building. That is installing the actual demising wall. The tenant improvements that are related because of the move or the redemising would fall to our rental car operators.
Okay. And one more question is, it was interesting when you mentioned that Sixt had started out in kind of a flex space, if I understand correctly, and then moved to a space that was ultimately vacated by a previous tenant. But if we have another, let's say, rental car brand that wants to establish a presence in the airport, does the 15-year lease agreement preclude a new brand from coming into the airport? I mean, notwithstanding the flex space, but if they wanted to add, some permanent space, is there flexibility in the lease for that?
So for any space outside of our small operator area, there would not be an opportunity. The lease requires that they have to have an established SEA market share, which is where our off-airport rental car program comes into play, which we currently do not have any off-airport rental cars. But they would be able to enter the facility as a small operator. Yeah. And then like Sixt, if there's an unintended vacancy at some point, there would be an opportunity then. But there is not another opportunity that the lease specifically calls for to become a inline or a regular operator.
And that actually reminded me, you had shown like 3 business models that we have for, and could you just explain the last one on that slide? I think it's my first time seeing that.
Sure. The last one, which is a brand new class for us, is our FBO rental car. So in our general aviation, which is run by Signature Flight, there are private jets that come in or general aviation aircraft that land, and there is some need for a rental car. Because they are not engaging in our terminal or on our roadways, we have a separate class of operation for them. But we wanted to ensure that we're still capturing some of that revenue, which is where the FBO class was created.
And they operate within the footprint of the airport, or like where physically are they?
They have space that Signature will sublease to them.
And Signature is near the South Concourse hangars, right? Is that near the old the firehouse? Is that right?
Correct. The second fire station, yeah. And by the PACCAR hangar.
The portable building they have, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
My question is kind of more about the market itself for rental cars. From the period in which we built this 14 years ago now to now, I'm sure there's been a lot of changes in the rental car market. Could you give us a sense of, as we look at this, we're at this point where we can make changes to the way we contract this, what changes in the market are driving the way that we are adapting this facility to the new market realities?
So we're adapting the facility from our standpoint regarding the size and the space based off of a significant change in market shares. So when the facility opened, we had a much broader split within the rental car companies that has somewhat changed. And so this rebidding process will enable us to ensure that everyone is in space that is commensurate to their market share, which ensures a more smoother and efficient operation. We're also constantly working with our rental car partners for ways that they can be more flexible to adjust with various disruptors to the industry. TNCs were a major disruptor when they came onto the market, taking away some of the 1 and 2 day rental share that would have typically gone to a rental car company. So we're constantly working with them to ensure that our facility remains viable, remains profitable, and generates a significant source of revenue for us.
Commissioner, I'll just add to that. Another major initiative that you may have heard about in the industry is the electrification of vehicles. So the team has been working really closely with our partners, the rental car partners, and understanding their intended shift to electrification, vehicles, and what limitations we may have just with capacity, electrical capacity, there. And that's a major item that we work on to see what we can do to accommodate. There have been some shifts back and forth even with individual companies, moving pretty heavily into electrification and then back, noticing that it's not, they're not getting the return on investment that they had intended. So it's a constantly dynamic, part of that business, but it's an area that we think is going to continue to be focused on by the operators.
Appreciate it. Steve, any further comments on this before we move on to the next briefing?
I did. Well, commissioners, if I can just ask one question of the team of have you talked to other airports? We saw that dip in 2025 and about trends, overall trends, which we're seeing across all concessions, really. Do you want to comment on that, or where we see that, any progression on that? So just
Yeah, that's a good question.
So we are constantly in contact with our airport colleagues across the country. Rental cars have seen a tremendous major disruptor recently with the introduction of peer-to-peer. Different states have different regulations surrounding that, but we are in constant contact with them to understand what they are taking and what they are pursuing to ensure that we adopt the best practices of those airports.
You're talking about Turo.
Correct.
But Turo's been around, so.
Turo has been around. However, they in more airports have had agreements with them. We're in the process of executing a new agreement that shifts some of the how the rental cars have performed.
So let's dive into that because that's interesting to me. So we are entering into an agreement with Turo to allow individuals to rent out their cars on port property at the rental car facility?
Not at the rental car facility, because the state has determined that peer-to-peer is not a rental car company. Therefore, they are ineligible to operate out of our rental car facility based off of our lease agreement.
So what would our agreement with Turo be?
So one area that we are looking at is allowing them without designating space is if they happen to park in our parking garage, they would still be subject to the parking fees, but we're not dedicating space to that operation. In addition, that we would also then receive some sort of concession fee as well.
From Turo?
Yes.
So they're going to pay us to not have designated parking spots?
Correct.
So the standard operation.
I don't understand. I'm not understanding that. Someone's going to pay us to not reserve spots at in the parking garage?
To reserve spot, I'm not sure if we're following you on that. So
you just said that they're not going to reserve parking spots.
They would not. So
why would they pay us? What are they paying us for?
Concession fee. What's that?
Like what's the concession fee for if they're not getting anything?
Okay, so a Turo operator has a vehicle that they're putting up for, you might say, use for someone else.
Right.
That operator would enter into the garage as a normal parking transaction.
Right.
And would pay that parking fee.
Right.
Okay. In addition to that, through the agreement that we're proposing to implement, we would require that Turo tracks all that activity. And then based on that activity, pays us a concession fee on the rental amount of the person that owns that vehicle to whoever is using it. So there's two fees there. There's the parking transaction fee that we would collect for that vehicle entering and exiting the garage. And then the concession fee based on the transaction, which we would get data on from a company like Turo as a peer-to-peer operator.
Is there anything that precludes them from parking in the garage now?
Just enforcement of having a commercial operator on property without an agreement.
Okay, so they're technically not allowed to do business on the property without our permission.
Correct.
That's your leverage.
Yes.
Got it. Understood. Thank you.
That's it, Mr. President.
A really fascinating space. Thank you so much for the presentation. We look forward to updates in the future. All right, Clerk Hart, please read the next item into the record, and Executive Director Metrick, you can then introduce it.
Thank you. This is agenda item 11B, the 2026 draft international policy agenda briefing.
Commissioners, today's briefing outlines proposed international policy priorities for 2026 that will allow how the port engages globally to advance goals beyond our direct authority. As a major aviation and maritime gateway, achieving the century agenda increasingly depends on international coordination and shared standards, along with strong relationships with global partners. Shifts in federal foreign policy have elevated the importance of direct subnational engagement, making the port's international presence even more consequential and important to our work. Looking ahead to 2026, Seattle's role as a host city for the FIFA Men's World Cup represents an opportunity to elevate our global profile and reinforce our values as a welcoming, modern gateway. We look forward to your feedback today. We will return at our next meeting with final with final priorities for your approval at that time. So our presenters this afternoon are Melissa Parks, Maritime Sustainability Government Relations Program Manager, and Karen Zog-Black, Manager International Relations in the Protocol Office there at External Relations. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Melissa.
Thank you, Executive Director Metric. Hey, Commissioners. So as he said, I'm Melissa Parks, Government Relations Manager, Maritime Sustainability. And with me today is Karen Zog-Black, our Manager of International Relations and Protocol. And we're pleased to bring you these draft international priorities for 2026. Next slide, please. So today we'll review 2025, give a little context for the year ahead and what we're seeing internationally, go over what's in the policy agenda already, plus some staff recommended updates for this year, and then go over some upcoming in-person engagement opportunities and next steps. Next slide, please. So just for some context, why we share our international priorities. I think we've already heard it this morning, but I'll repeat. You know, the port hosts global businesses and visitors, and we have ambitious goals that are related to those operations. Being involved at the global level, both with relationships and policy, is an important element of the port's overall strategy for success. Next slide. So 2025 was a tumultuous year. We reinforced the port's values through our policy priorities and engagement internationally, and in many ways stood apart from the federal government's actions when it comes to some key areas such as immigration, international visitors, and sustainability priorities. At the port, you all adopted an updated welcoming port policy. We increased our engagement with the International Association of Ports and Harbors. They represent us, or we're a member of them, and they sit on the International Maritime Organization. Sarah Auger is now the vice chair of the Climate and Energy Committee. They help set policy positions for the association at the IMO. We also signed a multi-port MOU with Korean port partners on sharing best practices, supporting alternative maritime fuels, standards, and infrastructure. As far as U.S. policy goes, this time last year we were wondering, what Trump's second term was going to bring, and I think some of us, me definitely, underestimated the lengths they would go to, and between using tariffs as leverage against trading partners and anti-immigration activities, just to name a couple, we've seen some impacts to our international port partnerships, and we've been trying to navigate those with some sensitivity. At the International Maritime Organization, it was a big year. The cruise industry did see a win with their carbon emission accounting ask that they had in front of the member states. And member states also negotiated a very significant global policy framework to regulate and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from international shipping. And the port does support that. It's called the Net Zero Framework. However, for its adoption, the U.S. did intervene using some unprecedented tactics, and it has led to this significant action to be delayed until later this year, with the outcome still unknown. So that was sort of the policy frame, and now Karen will share some more detail about our in-person engagements from last year. Next slide.
Commissioners, Executive Director Metric, it's my pleasure to be here today with Melissa to talk about our robust year of international engagement for 2025 and our commitment to continue that in 2026. I'm Karen Zog-Black, Manager of International Relations and Protocol here at the Port, and I've been in this role for 9 years now, so it's gratifying to see systems and relationship building that I started when I first arrived really bearing fruit in this climate when subnational diplomacy and international engagement are so critical. As this slide shows, we had a lot of active engagement in 2025, both abroad in global forums, but also with international partners here at events in Seattle. And we really focus our engagement in ways that advance Commission and Port priorities. A few examples to highlight from the slide. Left side, we have One Ocean Week in October in Seattle, and you can see Commissioner Calkins and Commissioner Ang with our sister port of Kobe, Japan, and also port of Bergen, Norway. We had the opportunity to exchange best practices on working waterfront and effective utilization of industrial lands. You can also then see Commissioner Cho at the UN Climate Conference in Brazil. He represented us, and with the lack of a U.S. federal delegation, found himself quite in demand as a speaker on multiple panels, which really was an opportunity for us. Near the middle of the slide, you can see Commissioners Calkins, Cho, and Felleman with Jens Meyer, the CEO of the Port of Hamburg, and the Seattle Metro Chamber and Greater Seattle Partners International Leadership Mission was to Germany in June. And we had fruitful discussions and tours with the entire regional delegation in Hamburg. We really learned how to leverage a waterfront industrial area to really look to, how to create a port of the future and fulfill a Teal New Deal vision for maritime, which we, of course, are doing here. The next three photos represent our engagement in Asia. The bottom one is our dinner with sister ports of Rotterdam, Netherlands, and Kobe, Japan, during the IAPH World Port Conference with Commissioners Hasegawa and Cho. And I'll note we're celebrating 59 years of our relationship with Rotterdam and Kobe this year. So that means you know what next year is. It's a big anniversary year. So, well, in Kobe, we also managed to visit our port and City of Seattle gift of a Native American carved story pole near Kobe City Hall, representing our long-time collaboration there. And then the top photo, maybe the biggest moment of our year, you see leaders of the Port of Tacoma, Port of Seattle, and Northwest Seaport Alliance with our sister port of Busan and the port of Ulsan, South Korea, at the historic signing of our 5-port MOU to continue our green corridor work to decarbonize our shipping routes between our gateways. Next slide. My next two slides cover the statistics related to our inbound delegations, outbound delegations, and international VIP gate escorts at the airport just for 2025. Our small and mighty team of 2 have managed quite a lot. Shout out to Stephen Wesley. Inbound, we coordinated 54 international delegation groups with over 570 visitors. And, just as we, the Port of Seattle, are the international gateway for our region and our state, whether you're talking about airline passengers, air cargo, or maritime cargo, our small international team serves as the connection point with all of our other internal port teams. Meeting with these international delegations who are seeking us out to learn about the groundbreaking things that we are doing turns into a critical two-way exchange that also enhances our port's understanding, our port staff's understanding, and creates new connections for potential collaborations and sometimes trade and economic development opportunities. I will note that we work to leverage the inbound opportunities to also align with our commission and port priorities. For example, just in the last couple months, we've had 3 delegations, 2 from Korea and 1 from Japan, that all were here to focus on shipbuilding. And so we're making some connections there because that's obviously something that we are looking into as well. For outbound, we supported over 52 engagements of port leadership or staff to international destinations and also key domestic trips that involved international partners or themes. Direct international engagement and diplomacy is even more critical in this climate of protectionist rhetoric coming from our U.S. federal government. And it's important that our port leaders and staff continue to participate in global forums in order to promote our best practices and innovative ideas, to also help shape the global conversation, and then bring back solutions to help some of our local challenges. I'll note that the photo here is with our sister port of Singapore at the IAPH conference. Next slide. Outbound delegations, in addition to the ILM or International Leadership Mission to Germany and the IAPH conference in Japan. On the left side of the screen, you can see other key international meetings and conferences that we participated in around the world. And thank you, commissioners, for all your active diplomacy in both traveling and also greeting our international guests here at home. Like I said, I think that's more important now than ever. And I also am a firm believer in people do business with people that they know. And so that relationship building and collaboration really will bear more fruit over time. On the right-hand side, you can see that for airport VIP gate escorts this year, we had a total of 72 total escort details with 637 travelers coordinating with 89 different diplomatic greeters. I'll note that some of the highest profile travelers were the Queen of the Netherlands, Prince of Sweden, Australian Prime Minister, Luxembourg Prime Minister, and 2 former United Kingdom Prime Ministers. And here I want to just...
Plus, Karen, the K-pop star.
Oh, yes, and K-pop. Yes, of course. Yes, also K-pop. Some other fun events with our airline partners as well. And really, I think creating a seamless and welcoming experience at the airport sets the tone for the rest of the visit of these dignitaries. Often these VIPs are here to meet with Microsoft and Boeing and Amazon and other partners in the region. And in some cases, it's local diplomats who are starting a new post here and will be our partners. So starting with that positive experience at the airport is a critical part of being a welcoming region and results in strong positive relationship with the port, which helps us enhance our work. I will note that the local diplomatic greeters refers primarily to the locally stationed diplomats here in Washington state. We have 10 established consulate general offices and another 40 countries represented by honorary consuls. And we also work with the consulate general offices in San Francisco and Los Angeles, both on airport logistics, but also in making connections and presenting to incoming trade delegations, where we make connections for economic development and trade. Last year, we also attended over 30 different consular events in the region, such as National Day receptions for countries like India, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and really appreciate, commissioners, your presence at so many of them. All of these working relationships that myself and colleague Stephen Wesley have developed will stand us in really good stead this year as we are working with all of them and the embassies to handle the increase in soccer fans and visiting government dignitaries for the FIFA World Cup games in June and July. I'll note that the photo here is our port delegation in Hamburg. And with that, I'll go next slide and pass back to Melissa.
Thank you. All right, so looking ahead to this year, as much as we can anticipate the year ahead, we're already seeing the administration's foreign policies of power through strength ramping up and increasing isolationism from global collaboration. We're also seeing a change more recently in how other countries are responding to the administration's tactics and rhetoric, and all of this will continue to inform our engagement. The International Maritime Organization, as I mentioned, has a significant global policy framework in front of it. U.S. engagement at the IMO and whether there's a scenario where the U.S. compromises on regulating international ship emissions instead of rejecting it, that's a looming question. Port staff are continuing to track and engage with ongoing work of committees at the IMO to inform work that continues under further developing that framework and continuing to support its adoption. This will be a big year. I think we've said FIFA more than any other word today. So, you know, it is the world's largest sporting event, the FIFA Men's World Cup, and it's a chance to shine with our international community. And like Nick said earlier, telling Seattle's true story. And additionally, the U.S. is hosting the G20 for the first time in 20 years. It's not in Seattle. It'll be in Florida, but it is a venue for global collaboration outside of the United Nations that the administration's increasingly turning away from. So this is another opportunity. And a few of the themes of the... What's that?
Is it at Mar-a-Lago?
Not specifically at Mar-a-Lago, but it is a Trump property in Florida.
Wow.
Yes. But the agenda includes themes around energy and innovation, which are close to us. So we're going to continue to talk to partners and look at, whether there's something we can leverage out of those negotiations, or not negotiations, but conversations. Next slide, please. So as far as our agenda and international priorities go, these are priorities that have continued since we developed these a few years ago. We've received a very warm welcome from international partners with our subnational leadership, and we recommend basically staying the course with the work that staff has been doing and is continuing to do. We also think, as Karin was mentioning, it's important that we try to be a stable, consistent partner for our international partners and community. Next slide, please. But staff do have some recommended updates for 2026, and I'll also say some emphasis, especially given the federal government's posture. And I want to note, I did correct the slide. Okay, earlier I thought it said World Club Cup, which was last year, so good on me. So with the large number of visitors expected to come enjoy the World Cup in Seattle, we want to step up and emphasize our anti-human trafficking work and outreach with some of the delegations and countries that we expect to have large amounts of visitors here. Staff also recommend increasing our engagement and voice around supporting immigrants and refugees, especially in response to the actions of the federal government by sharing our work on being an inclusive port of entry, advancing language access, and promoting international travel, like in our updated welcoming port policy. And then finally, staff recommend adding a focus on workforce development to our international engagement, seeing what we can learn from some of the partners that we visit and are aligned with our strategic interests, to see how the work that they're doing in areas that we could learn from could help inform our work and approaches here at home. And then not on this slide or in the draft memo, I want to acknowledge Commissioner Calkins. You reached out about emphasizing our work around protecting and maintaining biodiversity. I think a lot of the work that we're already doing reflects that. And so I will plan to work with staff on some draft language and bring that to you all before we put the priority up for adoption.
Just one quick comment on that.
Yeah.
It as you and I have talked about, it sort of stemmed from these engagements that we participated in around the UN Global Compact and a few other entities, where the focus on biodiversity, essentially the Sustainable Development Goals, are really guiding international policy. It isn't a big topic of conversation within the United States. And so in some ways, this is what can we learn from the international community that we're not leading on and should be. And so while our stakeholders may not be elevating this as a priority, we certainly hear from our Pacific partners that this is a major problem. And so maybe it's something we can do to kind of take important messaging from the international space and localize it in a certain way.
Great. Well, that's it for the updates to the actual policy agenda, but I'm going to turn it back to Karin, and she's going to close with some potential in-person engagement opportunities this year.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. We anticipate another active year. On this slide, I've highlighted some of the major conferences and events where we anticipate having port representatives attend. I'll note that Commissioner Cho is heading off to India to be part of the International Leadership Mission. So we've got that even happening this week. And as you can see from the list, we're planning to engage with our international port partners at key events such as Maritime Week in Singapore in April, the International Port Conference in Busan, South Korea in September, and of course the International Association of Ports and Harbors World Port Conference in London in November. These are just highlights, and I will note that we strategically track opportunities and assess which engagements are really going to offer the most value in terms of learnings to bring back to projects in our work plans and port priorities, networking with key partners, etc. And as I like to say, everything's in pencil. We stay fluid and nimble in terms of making sure we're looking at the best opportunities where to engage. Next slide. As a final note on our international engagement priorities for the year, note that we will, as Melissa said too, continue our direct engagement in the global port community and with our international partners showing up at international meetings. We will continue to look for engagement opportunities that help advance our port goals and work plan items, especially around clean energy, technology and innovation, industrial lands utilization, and of course continue to engage with key sister ports, Busan, South Korea, Kobe, Japan, Rotterdam, Netherlands, and Singapore, and also develop relationships with other ports that we've been engaging with over this last year, Barcelona, Spain, Bergen, Norway, Hamburg, Germany. And certainly learning best practices from other ports facing similar challenges has benefited the Port of Seattle since the 1960s and is critical today as we continue to navigate some of these pressing global topics of the day, such as decarbonization. Just to reiterate, which I think we have throughout our presentation, subnational diplomacy is critical today more than ever, especially in the current geopolitical climate. And our direct engagement actually offers us a unique opportunity to fill a leadership gap with the lack of U.S. federal delegation participation at events. It also allows us to message quite directly that despite the rhetoric from Washington, D.C. about tariffs and immigration policy, that our port and region do want to do international business and increase trade. And we do welcome international visitors, and we are committed to our decarbonization goals. So thank you so much, commissioners, for all of your active leadership and engagement on our international priorities. We look forward to another great, productive year. And I'll just note that the MOU signing with our South Korean partners is the picture on the slide. So with that, back to Melissa.
That closes our presentation. Just thank you for your time. We look forward to your feedback. We'll incorporate that into the draft priorities and submit the final for adoption at the next meeting.
Terrific. All right. Commissioners, what questions or comments do you have?
I just wanted to thank you all for the work in the presentation. I wanted to also flag that we are interested in convening a task force on immigration ahead of FIFA World Cup and welcoming international travelers from across the globe through our gateway. More to come.
Commissioner Cho?
Yeah, my takeaway from this presentation is that I'm in way too many of these photos.
You're one of our best ambassadors, Commissioner.
I appreciate that.
There's no person more prepared to be an ambassador than
All right, maybe we'll speak that into existence someday. First and foremost, Melissa and Karen, thank you so much for all the great work you did. I was blown away by the number of dignitaries and folks that Karen, you, and Stephen have helped get through the airport. I feel like that number has gone up exponentially over the last few years since the pandemic. I don't know if we need to figure out a way to filter this, but I do sincerely appreciate all the work that you do and Stephen does to accommodate that, given that it really is the first impression that we provide to these dignitaries when they come to our region. And I know that you got your work cut out for you during the FIFA World Cup as well. And so good luck. Melissa, I really appreciate the perseverance that we've exhibited as an organization and can be consistent with our policies on an international level. I also just want to point out that when I first joined the point, we didn't have an international policy agenda. And in the last year, I think it's only been a year or two.
3.
Okay. For the last couple of years, really since you've been with us, we've been able to develop that out and really make it a priority. And it's helped me and my colleagues go out there and really go out there with a mission and a clear-eyed goal when we go out to these conferences. So I want to thank you for putting that together. And let me just say, I think, both you, Karen, and Melissa pointed out, in the absence of federal leadership, this is where we step up. I'm reading this book. It's called New Localism, And it actually talks about this, that when the national governments recede, it's up to local governments to step up and fill the void. And as you mentioned, I certainly felt it when I was at COP30 in Brazil, and I continue to feel it, as inbound inquiries come in around, speaking engagements, panel discussions abroad. And so I think there's we are at a juncture in a moment in time where we can really get ourselves out there and really tell the world what we're doing here as an institution, but also it's an opportunity for us to find new partners that can help us get to our goals, right? Because we all know we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the solutions. We're going to need partners who may have been doing it already or are further ahead than us in the timeline so that we can be, if not second movers or third movers in this space. And I certainly look forward to being in India starting tomorrow. Next week. Jeez. Starting tomorrow. I'm very, very, very excited to see what new markets, opportunities, and partnerships we can find in India, which is probably one of the fastest growing economies in the world and tremendous potential for us. And so thank you, Karin, for all the work you've done to prepare me for that trip. And I certainly hope to be coming back with some promising prospects. Thank you.
Thanks again for the presentation. My question is, there was a slide that showed relationship with sister ports and other key ports. And that was, you answered most of my question, but I am curious whether there are ports that you've identified for consideration of an additional sister port.
Well, certainly, I think one of my mantras is always like, we can start collaborating and engaging with ports and find areas where, we've got some things that we can learn from each other or we want to exchange on, and we can develop those partnerships, without sort of rushing into creating a sister port, which, then sort of comes with
before we marry, I guess,
expectations of, et cetera. So definitely, like when I called out Barcelona, Bergen, Norway, and Hamburg, Germany, those are ports that sort of organically over the last 2 years, we've deepened our engagement. We've been attending meetings and conferences in each other's cities and starting to go, oh, wow, we have a lot in common, or we're grappling with a similar issue. So some of those ports are ones that I think we want to keep developing those relationships. And certainly, I think if you look at the list of our most active sister ports that, again, were established back starting in the 1960s, I think a lot of them were connected to sort of where the container shipping routes were going at the time. So we really sort of punch above our weight in terms of being sister ports with Rotterdam, Netherlands, Shanghai, China, Singapore, Busan, Kobe. And so definitely those are all really active relationships. And certainly we can also strategically look at, is there another region of the world or some other area that we want to be developing closer ties with? And certainly we can start having those conversations and make sure that there's some mutual, things for us to work on.
In recent engagements, I've really been struck. We like to say in the maritime world that if you've seen one port, you've seen one port. However, there are times when you come across another port and you're like, wow, there's so much we share in common with this port, and and therefore have a ton to learn from them. And so, and I know in Commissioner Travels and Executive Director Metric and all his travels, some of these relationships have kind of organically developed because we're often in the same room addressing the same challenges. I mean, you mentioned Barcelona. It's another cruise port where they're experiencing some of the same opportunities to address challenges around emissions, around tourism.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to learn and share, honestly. And so I think, whether it's a formal sister port relationship or not, I think putting effort into not reinventing the wheel, but learning from others who have gone before and figured out a good solution is real value in this international engagement. The other thing that I think it was Commissioner Cho who really highlighted this idea a few years ago is the notion that there are regions in which ports are now emerging as economies grow, as populations grow, as a middle class grows and the exchange of goods and services increases, and maybe from this idea of enlightened self-interest, it might make sense for us to begin reaching out to ports in some of these emerging markets where we can serve a little bit, not to be patronizing, but a bit of a mentor-mentee kind of port relationship, recognizing that ultimately, as you said, Karin, people to people is how business is done, and we want to make sure we're developing relationships now that planting the seed now so that we can enjoy the shade of the tree in 20 years. And I think Southeast Asia, Africa, the Indian subcontinent, these are places where I think it's right to assume that there will be markets and exchange and trade opportunities in the not too distant future, and to sort of plant Seattle's flag in those places would be important too. So, and I know you're all doing that kind of stuff. Commissioner Cho, I don't know if you want to chime in on that. It was your idea.
No, I really appreciate the comments about ports that might be up and coming. And that's what actually excites me about our trip to India, because, our agenda actually has a port visit, but the port that we were visiting is actually exclusively a container port. And as you pointed out, Karin, I think in the past, when the alliance didn't exist, we did target ports that were more container oriented for that relationship. But I do think strategically speaking, it's more appropriate for us to talk to or start relationships with ports like cruise terminals that have cruise terminals, because we do have some mentoring and opportunities to share. And so, in addition to the Jawaharlal Nehru port, which is what it's called, I will actually be breaking off from the delegation and visiting the port of Mumbai, which is the port next to the port that we're visiting, that does cruise and break bulk and everything outside of containers. And so I look forward to meeting with them, to learning about where they are. And like you said, Karin, if this is a good example of the Port of Seattle offering some of our expertise on onshore power and land mitigation and cleanup and stuff like that, maybe there's something there. But I think you're right in that it goes both ways. There are ports out there like Busan, where we learn something from them, and ports out there where we can pay it forward and teach them what we know. So appreciate that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Executive Director Metric, any remaining comments on this topic?
Yeah, thanks, Commissioners. Thanks for that great discussion. I think this is important for us to have this strategy and engagement, especially to help shape our engagements on all those different opportunities that are rising, and then prioritize those as well. And I think I do want to. You've already recognized the staff here, but I think that both Melissa and Karin, and then the staffs that feed the information to them, really need a shout out. And one of the things we don't see, we talked about the Consular Corps here, but even as recently as last night, they came up to me and thanked me for all the work that Karin and Stephen do, that we don't even see that's happening, and how much that enables them from getting their job done. So I'm glad we can recognize them. And then for Melissa, pulling together all those different threads that are out there and doing that work, because I think that's really important for us, especially, you've already stated so eloquently, in this time and age, this subnational effort is really critical for us. And I think we have talked those initial conversations about other ports that, especially for those that we could form like a mentoring relationship. Matter of fact, Commissioner Cho and I had a conversation many years ago at IMO about this with the secretariat there. So it's something that still is out there and is discussed also at the IAPH as well. So that's something that may get ripe in the years to come as we move forward to do that. So I think, but it's always, this is important work for us, and I think it helps shape what we're trying to accomplish, because we're talking a lot about maritime, but there's the aviation side as well, is that we're talking about global industries, that these problems that we're trying to address here, especially on decarbonization and emissions, will take a global approach, and we need to be involved in those conversations. And I think due to your efforts and the efforts of our team, we are relevant in those conversations and can help shape that way forward to accomplish our goals, which are major in those things to decarbonize the whole transportation industry. So thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you all so much. That was a great briefing. That concludes our business meeting agenda for the day. Are there any closing comments at this time or motions relating to committee referrals from commissioners? No? Okay. I'm going to... Oh, all right. Go ahead, Commissioner Hasegawa.
I just wanted to express my heartache for the pain that's reverberating throughout our port community and our broader community and our nation for the unceremonious executions that we've witnessed by the hands of rogue ICE agents over the last 2 weeks. And we are deeply involved in imperfect and evolving conversations about what it means, first and foremost, to keep people safe, and second, to promote public confidence in the operations that we can do right here at home in the Port of Seattle. I just want folks who are feeling alone and afraid and unseen and uncertain of what they can do, that you're already doing it in your acts every single day. And you have a bench of elected officials who care deeply. And we're committed to doing everything within our power and our influence to help resonate justice within this institution and throughout our communities. Thank you.
All right. I just want to mention our colleague, Commissioner Mohammed, who is on FMLA right now. But we are thinking about you, Commissioner Mohammed, as you await the arrival of a baby. And we look forward to your return after your maternity leave. And with that, Executive Director Metric, any closing comments for you today?
None right now.
All right. Hearing no further comments and having no further business, if there is no objection, we are adjourned at 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much.